Welcome to Transformative Principal, where you learn how to be a leader and not just a manager of a to-do list. I am your host, Jethro Jones. You can find me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. Your to-do list is a hungry monster that is never satisfied. For the last year and a half, I've helped principals get awards, get promoted, and find the time to do the work that really matters. I recently opened a new mastermind slot. Schedule a call with me and let's overcome the stressed and isolated principal position together. Go to the show notes for this episode at transformativeprincipal.org and click Schedule a Call with Jethro.
Hey everyone, this is Stacy Lindis from Podcast PD, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual host. Make sure you check out all of the other great podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com and get ready because the learning begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Transformative Principal. I believe this is episode 237, but I think I got off on my counting somewhere. So it's pretty close in there. So welcome. I'm excited to have you tonight. I have Alysson Keelen, who's the principal of Memorial Elementary School in New Jersey. And Alysson, thank you so much for coming on Transformative Principal tonight.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And Alysson is especially intense because it is evening for me here in Alaska and she's in New Jersey. So she is burning the midnight oil. And I just want to say thank you for that because I know that it's sometimes challenging to do scheduling in two different time zones. So I wanted to interview you, Alysson, because I saw an interview with one of your teachers on Disrupt Ed TV, which is a great video chat, much like this where nerdy people talking about nerdy education stuff, which I say that as a compliment also, by the way. And she was talking about having students with special needs in her computer classroom and teaching kids to have big dreams and do amazing things. And so when I heard her speaking and saw her passion, I knew that there had to be a principal behind that who was supporting it and making sure that that was the school culture and understood and all that. And in talking to Alysson here, I've learned that you've actually been doing this for a long time, that this isn't a new thing for you. You've done it for a long time. So can you just give a little background of your history as an educator, Alysson?
Sure. In 1990, I began teaching in Howell Township. I taught third grade, I taught second grade, and then I moved up to sixth grade. But my degree was in special education, but I always taught in the general education classes. So I taught for about 8 years, and then I was promoted to vice principal, where we had a really big inclusion program at the school I went to, Gribbling School. And then I was promoted to a principal position, and I've been there probably since 2003.
Gotcha. At the school you're at now, you've been in that same position since 2003. Is that what you said?
Actually, no. I've been a principal since 2003. And I think it was about 4 years ago, they redistricted and I moved to Memorial Elementary School. So I've been there for about 3 or 4 years. I think this is our third or fourth year.
Okay, gotcha. All right. I thought that I misheard that and the internet connection broke for just a second.
Okay.
So I was going to say that's quite a long time in one school, but just in the same district, it sounds like. Okay. So can you just talk a little bit for those who haven't heard about what Sky's doing in her computer classroom with students with special needs?
Absolutely. It is, we actually won an award. We just found out last week.
Oh, congratulations.
It's for the program that they developed. It was from New Jersey School Boards, and it's the Special Ed Innovations in Special Education Award. So we were one of 5 schools selected from New Jersey, and it really was based on the STEM. It's the Bulldog think tank STEM Innovation Stations, and what it is it's a STEM lab that was designed by a team of educators that came together. Sky Dunzelli, our computer teacher, had a vision. And she said, I really want to do this. And so I said, well, that's great. So let's get a group together that you feel comfortable working with. And let's kind of approach it from a team approach. And so she got the media teacher involved, Jen Stenard, and our occupational therapist involved, Leonora Bradley, another special education teacher, Alex Zweig, our BCBA, Maureen Rubin, and our speech teacher, Erin McCabe. And they designed a STEM lab that was based on universal design. So when you walk into and it's based in the heart of our school in our media center. And what Sky does in her computer classes is she teaches the special education students to understand and become experts on particular STEM activities. And then we invite the general education peers to come in and they work together. The difference is the special education are the special engineers that actually become the experts, and they work through different problems, different activities throughout the lab.
And so taking a team approach, I love that idea, because nobody can do anything just by themselves, and you need to have a team for things to really be successful. And I'm learning that more and more. It's something that I've always known, but I'm understanding that more and more as I gain more experience and get older, that it's all about having a team. Can you talk a little bit about how you chose that team and what different people and strengths they brought, and just things that you thought about in including different people in that team?
I didn't pick the team. I did not pick the team.
Even better.
I felt, Sky had the dream, and I think it was her vision was, I know you've heard Sky, and Sky's one of the most interesting people that you ever get the chance to talk to, because she brought a dream to life, and she understood the importance of inclusion in a way that inspires all of us. And I've been in education for 28 years, and I have to tell you, okay, I've seen that, a lot of things are recycled sometimes. And what I loved about this particular STEM lab was that when you listen to Sky talk about what it is, it's like you just can't help to want to get involved.
Yeah.
So when she came to me, I said, look, this is a lot of work, and you have to kind of approach it from, different avenues. And I learned a lot from Sky through this process that made me understand things differently on how to get the project done that I never thought of. And it was a different way. Even, Sky's always thinking and writing things down. We were at an awards ceremony for something that we were not even, really involved in. And she's taking notes and she's talking to people, and she says, I'm going to get them to write a letter. And she approaches them, it's like this passion that you can't even contain her. So she reached out to her colleagues, and she said, this is what I want, and this is what I'm looking to do, and this is why I think it's important. And you can't help but get involved. And I think she was really careful in how she selecting the OT gave a perspective on our STEM lab that most STEM labs don't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had the wobble chairs. They had bought a canoe, and it was a canoe where it kind of puts pressure, or it allows a little pressure on the body, so that it provides comfort sometimes for some of our special ed students who have that need. The way the materials are set up, those things, it goes from a hands-on perspective. Then what it'll do is it'll go to more of an abstract level, involving the speech teacher. What materials do we need for students who might have some communication issues? Involving the BCBA, all of their perspectives, they all come from different perspectives. And that's what makes this particular room unique, is because they all approached it when they were looking at how are we going to design this? What do we want? And all of them put in their ideas. And that was the strength of this particular room. And that's what got the attention, I believe, of Ocean First Bank, which was they won the grant that gave us $10,000. And that's what really got our lab to go from, okay, yes, we have this vision to something extraordinary, that infusion of funding.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening is we also got funding from our Howell Township Education Foundation. We put in for First Energy. They gave us money. Liberty Science Center partnered with us for some ideas and support. And of course, our PTA jumped in and has been constantly supportive of the program. So I know Sky says you can fund this and you can set up a STEM room, but this is extraordinary because I think people understood the vision beyond just a normal STEM room. This takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been thinking about lately is the idea of, instead of having mandates that people do certain things, mm-hmm. that you allow and give people the opportunity to come up with their own ideas. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, give them the opportunity to choose their own team that they're going to work with, mm-hmm. and how powerful that is, because like you could not have dreamed that this STEM lab would be as amazing as it is had you been the one pushing it, right? And
absolutely,
I mean, that's the beauty of it, that you can now, as a leader, you can allow things to happen in your building that nobody but the teacher who's actually doing it could have actually come up with. And for me, that is just so inspiring. Can you talk a little bit about that power of empowering someone else to be successful with that?
What you just zoomed in on is truly what I believe is what makes magic happen in your school. And I've had it happen in another school that I worked in, where we created another lab, and it was extraordinary. And I think it is really releasing the control. If you try and control it, you'll get a great program. That's fine. But if you want extraordinary, I always look at it. We have teachers who are incredibly intelligent human beings. They've gone to college, and I always say to them, look, you have a brain and I expect you to use it. You're paid here. So let's get everybody to the table. And yes, you will get that. It's also, though, not to be afraid, because sometimes it may not go in the direction that you might have initially predicted it to go, whatever the project is. But I have to tell you, I don't know if you've ever read the book. There's a book that if you give a moose a muffin, or, that's what happens in our school, is that, okay, somebody will throw an idea out, and then the next person jumps on, and the next person jumps out, and, we could do this. And you know what? This connects with that. And that's where you start to see people getting excited, because now they've contributed, and if there's a challenge, or if we're facing a problem, sometimes I'll just say, look, this is a problem, and how are we going to solve it? And when they can put their ideas and get that sense of ownership and control, it's magical. It really, really is. And I've seen extraordinary things happen because of it.
Yeah, I agree with you so much. And one of the other things I do besides this podcast is the Transformative Leadership Summit, which is happening in just a couple of weeks. And if you're listening, our whole theme this year is about empowering other people so that they can do amazing things. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what you're talking about, that when you give other people the opportunities, they blow past anything that you could have thought of yourself. And yet we still struggle as principals to turn over that control. And we think that, the idea that everything good or bad that happens in a school is a direct result of the leadership of that school, mm-hmm. or any organization. That is the truth. And we think that means that we have to be in control of it all. We can't be, and we've got to let it go. We've got to give other people opportunities to bring their own passion and excitement. And so if those who are listening, you want to go to the Leadership Summit this year, it's all online. It's amazing. Go to transformativeleadershipsummit.com. Sign up there. It's very easy to get into, and I'll send you a whole bunch of resources to help you get ready to do amazing things. Sky's one of the people that we're going to be interviewing for that. And
that's one to watch, listen to.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and it's going to be fantastic. So go to transformativeleadershipsummit.com and check it out. Tons of amazing guests that are just going to blow your socks off. And this is another area where I'm I'm letting some of this go and getting other people to bring their vision to it. And I'm so pleased with the results so far. It's just incredible. And that's what happens when you give other people opportunities to take something and run with it. And it's just so exciting. And so I'm glad that you're talking about that right now as well. It's very good. So going back to that idea of allowing other people to take control and creating it, one of the other things that I'm working on now is I have a teacher who's like Sky, who is inspiring and amazing. And she's like a honey badger when she gets on something that she just doesn't let it go. Yeah. And then everything she touches turns to gold. Yeah. And sometimes she does things like I'm sure Sky does that, are not exactly in line with policy or nothing bad, but just like our school system hasn't necessarily caught up to where we're at. And so how do you support someone who is doing good things that are good and not violating policy in a negative way to hurt anybody, but violating policy in a way that, the policy just hasn't caught up to the modern times? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. What I'm hearing though is I believe if you make decisions that are in the best interest of students, that why you're doing something. And I think that's where I would always come. We have to talk about. So if something, I'm not quite sure where you're going with that. I do know.
Oh, I'll tell you real quick.
I don't know.
At my school, one of the issues is that our IEP mandates, our IEP process mandates that, we have to do all this paperwork to ensure that the service time is appropriate. And, we're going to put the right people with the right kids, which may mean that on Monday this week, the teacher is working with a special ed teacher, but on Tuesday, the student's working with the general ed teacher. And on Wednesday, they're working with an aide. And that time, that's not going to be reflected, but our policy manual for special ed IEP meetings says that we have to say that the student is working with whoever they're working with for a certain number of minutes each week, but that's not going to be the case. That kind of thing, that is definitely better for the kid to put the right person with them. But that goes against our policy in that regard. How do you give people permission to do what's right for kids, even when other people will say it's not a good idea or it's not right or whatever?
I think you have to, and I don't know if this is giving you, what you're looking for in terms of that. But again, listen, when I was teaching, we would do things, we would change things up and, maybe the schedule wasn't exactly the way it is. It's a lot more, people are, much more accountable, I guess, if you want to say now than it was years ago. But I, in my mind, have to be able to justify why. So if there's a decision that I don't know if we should be doing this,
Yeah.
I go back to why is this important and how can I justify this? If if somebody questions me, that's where I go. And I'll give you an example. We have this huge, a huge garden outside that we're transforming into an outdoor classroom now. It's our next great project, and Sky's in there, and we're getting a whole new team of teachers together to kind of put their ideas together and work through it. Now, what does that offer? Will there be science activities out there? Will there be, different activities? Is it necessarily going to be at a particular time, where science is? No, it's not going to. But what are the benefits and what are the students getting out of it? Are they going to go back in their classroom and write about it? Are they going to go back and do some science experiments? Are they going to do some math problems? I think you can always justify those things, but you have to know why. And that's whenever I get nervous, like, oh, I don't know. I go back and start to justify it in my head. And then I usually can have a very clear picture so that if I do get challenged on something, I can say, look, this is why. When I have that conversation, it's not me just sitting there, Jethro, I will tell you that. I usually surround myself with a great, group of people, of teachers, and they'll work it through me. they'll go through it. Okay, this is why we're doing it. And it's right there.
Yeah.
So even those conversations, we have I don't know what you have in Alaska, but we have like a school improvement panel. It's a skip team. And this was something the state did right when they mandated this. But what it does is we actually meet once a month. And I have a group of very diverse educators. I have like 2 special education teachers on the team. I have a 3rd grade teacher, a 4th grade teacher, a 5th grade teacher. I have our our teacher coach on there. But it's also a fluid group. So if we're doing something where we have technology, I'll pull Sky in. It depends on what the particular program is or whatever we're working on. And they plan all the staff development. So, those are the people that we sit down once a month and we reflect on our building goals and we say, okay, where are we at with this and what are we doing? So one of the examples, when you talk about something that I'll give you something out of the box, we have to plan an in-service day. How many times have we sat in an in-service day and you just are like, oh, when is this day going to end? Okay. So I said to them, we've got to start to teach. We've got to start to do our in-service the way we want our teachers to teach their classes.
Amen.
Exactly. So I said that to them. So what we did is we designed an escape room for our staff development day. And what this group of teachers, and with Sky's help additionally, we set up 2 escape rooms and we put the entire staff, we broke them up into teams. And they had invested in Schoology, which is a classroom management learning program. And so that's how the students, we have 1-to-1 laptops in the school district. So they were trying to, this was new. We also adopted the Marzano observation model. So we had a lot of stuff to train the teachers in. And a lot of it is sometimes, okay, it's not as exciting as you would want it to be, but we wanted them to start to use Schoology more. So that was part of the tasks that they had to do in the escape room in order to escape. And they were put in a time situation and we kind of grouped them strategically so they weren't with their normal peers that they work with. So they had to work with one another and they could do this. And then I also have, you have those high flying teachers who all know how to use the Schoology and know all the Marzanas. Yeah. So we put a limit on them where they could not speak in the escape room.
Oh.
So what ended up happening was they found a way around it. But we could give them clues in there. And so they did the activities and the escape room time ran out and they didn't escape the room essentially. So I know it was pretty fun. So we said, okay, you have to come out, and they would not come out because they want to finish the tasks. Okay. So we take them from there and they've gone through that. Now we go in and we say, okay, let's reflect on what you had to do in that room. And let's say, how does this affect, like, look at the Marzano model. What things did you hit upon by teaching in this active learning setting? Okay. You were exposed to different things. What did you learn? And they had to jot that information down, go into the Marzano model. And I have to tell you, it was the most interesting conversations that we've had. At the end, they did not want to leave, and they were still completing activities. And it was like, okay, the professional day is over. You have to shake it up. You have to just say, if we want teachers to teach this way, we have to teach them that way. We have to get them excited about what they're learning, because if we can't teach them to do that in that way, then how do we expect that to be an everyday occurrence? It's a struggle. But I have to tell you, that escape room, was amazing. And it was really set. I don't know, if you've gone to one.
Yeah, I've done the Breakout EDU, which is a similar kind of thing. And that is a lot of fun as well. And so, being able to bring these different perspectives to your teachers is definitely important. I love that idea. And you've given me some good ideas of some things that I can do to help move my teachers along as well. And Alysson, thank you so much for your time. This has been a wonderful conversation. I thought we were going to go one way and we went a totally different way. And I just love it when that happens, because it just means that, we were having a great conversation. So the last question I ask is, what is one thing a principal can do this week to be a transformative principal like you?
I think listen to your teachers, talk to them, but say, if you could pick something to do. If you could dream and change something or take a risk, what would you want your instruction to be differently? And I want you to do that and try it. And, if they can get excited about teaching that way and try something, I think you'll start to see that springboard move forward. But listen to them and get their input. You have, there are so many great educators out there that are dying to share that knowledge and to challenge themselves. So that's what I would say to another principal.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Alysson, for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for being part of Transformative Principal.
Thank you. And I just want to say this was a great experience for me, and I learned something from it, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you. That's an honor to me. I appreciate that.
Okay. Take it easy.
You too.